Hey guys, this is Bruce, and this is Convocourses. We're going to be talking about some cybersecurity, particularly how to put cybersecurity bullets on your resume if you happen to be an IT person, or if you're in any other industry. I'm going to show you how to find keywords, how do you know if you've ever even done cybersecurity, and what are the main things you want to put on your resume. This is a part of a course that I'm doing. If you are interested in deep diving into this course, dipping your toe in this course, then what you can do is you can find it at convocourses.com, where I have a free introduction to this course. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Convocourses.com. There we go, convocourses.com. And if you go I got a bunch of other free courses, but this recent one is specifically about how to put information that's cybersecurity related on your resume. The free course is out there, but I'm doing one that's much, much deeper. It's just going to take me a while to do it. Here it is right here. And it's just a few videos of how to word things on your resume. You might have already actually seen it on my YouTube channel. If you didn't know, go to YouTube, convocourses.com. You can check me out there, and I talk about risk management framework, information system security officer work, cybersecurity stuff in general. That's the kind of stuff I talk about. All right, so got a few people watching right now, doing something a little bit different. It's going to be interesting. I'm broadcasting on different channels to see what goes on with that. Another thing, on my channel, I get a lot of people asking me about some videos I've done in the past about how to avoid dating scams. If you're interested in that, I got a free course on relationship.thinkific.com where I talk about it's free. It's 10 videos where I walk you through how to actually avoid romance scammers online. I know a lot about this because I did it for a while. I mean, I wasn't a romance scammer. I got scammed a few times as I was going on the dating sites, but I learned how to actually avoid it. But if you're interested in that, go ahead and check that out. It's for free. It's relationship.thinkific.com. All right, let's get into this. Let me get into, where was I? I was looking at CIS Controls. That's probably what you guys are interested in. CIS Controls, and I'm going to show you how to break this down, how to understand it, and how to put this on your resume. Then after we're done with this, I'm going to open up this to questions, any kind of questions you have. Maybe I'll just go into the questions that people have emailed me so that we can get this started. All right. So what you're looking at here are what's called CIS Security Controls. This is a industry standard. Many different organizations, companies, public and private, use CIS Controls, and you might know it as you might be familiar with CIS Benchmark. This is where they get the controls from. So you're looking at basically the families of all the different controls that you need to do. Why are we looking at this? Well, this is how you can identify what you have done as a security person, and what to put on your resume. So let me give you an example. So what you want to do on your resume is you want to identify what you did, the action, what was the impact to the organization, and then the keywords. That's what you want to do. So I've identified some here for vulnerability management. That's in the course that I'm developing. But what I'm going to do is I want to start one from scratch. I'm going to delete this that I did about inventory stuff, and I'm going to start just typing here to show you what I'm talking about. Let's say that you are an IT person. You've done some kind of IT work. You've done some kind of configuration management work. You've done some kind of program management work, but you're trying to get into cybersecurity. I get a lot of these questions from people from all different walks of life, all different industries. Mostly it's people in IT trying to get into cybersecurity. Here's how you do it. So you go to, let me go back to, where was I? Here we go. CIS Controls is just one place that you can go, by the way. There's many other methods to the madness, and we'll touch on those in the course. But let's look at number 6. Hold up. Let me move my face out of the way here. There we go. Number 6 right here that you're looking at. And this is maintenance, monitoring, and analysis of audit logs. Okay. So first off, what does that mean? Let's just kind of dive into what that means. So what I've done is I've gone to the CISsecurity.org website, and now what we're going to look at is audit. And this is going to take us to exactly what it's talking about. Here it is right here. Audit logs, maintenance, audit logs, and it looks like it has a section on audit logs, on what you do with many different aspects of audit logs. You've got making sure that the time source is correct, activating the actual audit logs on the system, enabling the detailed audit logs, central log management, SIEM log analytics. There's lots of different things that you can look at here to identify exactly what you have done as an IT person. I myself have done many of these things. I'm by no means an expert on all of them, but I have done little bits and pieces of many of these. So what you want to do is find out what you've done with audit logs. Now, if you don't know what audit logs are, you may know it by a different name. Event logs is another one. Audit trails is another name for it. But audit logs is probably the most common name. You got audit logs on many different systems, from Linux systems to Windows systems to whatever, right? So what we're going to do is start off with something simple, like activating the actual audit logs. So if you've ever configured a system, you're an IT person, and you have configured a system before, more than likely you have had to turn on the audit logs. That is a security bullet statement that you can put on your resume that people will actually look for. When I say people are looking for, organizations who are looking for you, they're looking for your skill set. But you have to identify your cybersecurity skill set on your resume, and that's what we're talking about. So how do we word that? How do we say the action? What action did you take to actually make this happen? First of all, let's just name this audit log statements. This is stuff that's going to go on your resume. Now, if you have ever done the following, I'm just going to kind of keep it high level here. If you have ever turned on audit logs, and that means you configured a system and you had to go into the back end of the system in the configuration security and then turn on audit logs, that's you. If you have ever had to analyze audit logs, that's another one. If you have ever had to turn on or off the audit logs, if you've ever had to manage space, manage storage for audit logs, if you've had to troubleshoot audit logs, if you've done anything with audit logs, this is something you should put on your resume because it is relevant. And security technical recruiters are looking for these kinds of things. And now, how do we word this? Let's say that you have configured a system and you had to turn on audit logs while you're configuring that system, and you were working the help desk, right? So you would say something like enabled event logs. Let's call it audit logs because that's a better keyword. But we'll get to event logs later. Event logs on, let's say you had to do it on Red Hat systems, Red Hat Linux systems, Red Hat Linux servers on Let's say you worked on Penrose Medical Systems. Okay, that's the action, right? So we've got the action. Now we got to get the impact, and we got to get the keywords. Let's start with the impact. So when you turn on those audit logs, first off, let me remove my face here. There we go. So when you turned on those audit logs, now you got to think to yourself, what was the impact of what I did? What was the impact? What is the impact? Think to yourself for a second. What would be the impact? Why would you want to turn on audit logs? Why would you want to turn on audit logs? Just think to yourself, why would you want to? So for one thing, an organization needs the audit logs turned on to detect security incidents. Like something happens on the, like let's say as malware, there's a virus on your network. One of the main ways that you could detect it would be the audit logs. So that's one thing that's one reason you might want to have audit logs on. Another thing is you want to know who logged on and who logged off of the system, especially on critical systems. If you have a server and it has very important information on it, you want to know at all times who logs into it, that system, and who logs off of it. So that's another really important reason you would want to have not only audit logs, but audit logs with the correct time date stamp on it. So that's another reason. So we got security incidents. We also talked about accountability, who logged in, who logged off, who did what. So those are the two main reasons. So what is the impact of turning on these audit logs? Well, it allows the organization to detect security events. So let's put that on there. So we said enabled audit logs on Red Hat servers on Penrose, let's say on that's right, on Penrose. So we'll clean it up later. To allow, no, let's say allowing we want active language here, allowing the organization to detect possible security incidents. All right, now look at this. We've got our action. Here's what we did. It's security related. We found that via CIS Security Controls. Then the impact. The impact was it allowed the organization to detect possible security incidents. Now let's focus on the keywords. Keywords. When we're thinking keywords, we're thinking, what do organizations want from employees as far as skill set? What are they looking for? They're looking for specific things. Like right here, we put Red Hat servers. So that's actually a pretty good keywords. We're letting them know right away we have experience with Red Hat. This could have been Windows 2016. It could have been Mac OS. It could have been whatever, right? We want to specify what we have the skill set on. So that's a keyword. This right here, audit logs, is also a keyword, key phrase, whatever you want to call it. Here's another one. The organization you worked at could be a keyword, because what if you worked at Google, or if you worked at Microsoft, or if you worked at NASA? Some of these are pretty prestigious places to work for. So if a recruiter or an organization sees that, they might say, "Oh yeah, Bruce worked here, so that's pretty good." Or, "Hey, I worked at a medical place," so maybe they know a little bit about dealing with medical data. So, which is important. Anyway, so we got 3 keywords here, and then we don't want to just say organization. We want to, as many times as possible, we want to use keywords. So right here, we can say allowing the, let's see, the medical facility. that gives us, it's telling them, hey, we worked at a medical facility. You know, we may know HIPAA. We may know how to deal with. We know how the staff works. Okay, so medical facility to possible security incidents, and you know how to deal with security incidents. So there you go. There's a few keywords in there. Now, what else can we do? We've turned on audit logs. That's good. Analyze audits. Okay, how can we slip this into? How can we put this in there? Let's think about this. So we want to tell them what actions we did with analyzing audit logs. Now, if you happen to have ever done help desk work or server work or whatever, there comes a time when you have to look at the audit logs, even if it's not security related. A lot of times when a system goes down and you're troubleshooting it, the best way to know how to fix it is to go into the logs. I mean, it's the best way. The logs tell you exactly why the system went down a lot of times. So you got to go into the back end. You got to look at the application logs, or you may have to look into the system logs, and maybe even sometimes the security logs to see why did this system shut down abruptly without any kind of scheduling. So what we want to put here is what we did. So we analyzed event logs. Let's kind of use another keyword, event logs, for when on Windows 2016 server on critical. Let's say critical. Let's make sure that they know this was an important. This wasn't just any system. This was a critical system for critical Windows 2016 servers to troubleshoot ongoing issues and to assist with security investigations. Investigations. There we go. So a couple keywords here. We got event logs, so we're slipping that in there because Windows calls audit logs event logs. And then we've got Windows 2016 server. That's a keyword. Troubleshooting could be a keyword depending on what job you're trying to do. And then we've got the security features in there, security investigations. Analyzed event logs on critical Windows 26. So there you go. So we got these two covered. So that's great. That's great. So let me show you how you can get even more great information on your resume. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to LinkedIn. And I'm going to type in audit logs. So there's a couple things we can do here. We can look at actual jobs. We can look at people's actual people's resumes and get some ideas off of them. Like this person here, he's got information on what he's done here, but this guy's like a founder or CIO. So, you know, it's no good. No good. We need regular people with regular resumes. So let's see what we got here. And then you also need somebody who actually puts stuff in their resume, because a lot of people, they don't like fill out their resume, unfortunately. So let's say audit. Okay, he doesn't have anything. I'm not seeing it. I don't know why his name came up if there's no audit. Oh, here we go. It's logs. It's just logs. Logs. There we go. See this? See how you can look at the person's wording. How did they word it? How did they word this? Why is this person coming up in the top 20 searches when I type in audit logs, right? There's got to be a reason. They got log analysis. They got DNS log. They got VPN logs. They got what I'm trying to get you to think about is this is another way that you can extract some information on what keywords to use and how to phrase what you want to put in your resume when it comes to the CIS controls or any kind of controls. This is not specifically for just CIS controls. The CIS controls we're only using to identify what controls to use, what to use. So when we're looking at this right here, we're just trying to determine, okay, what can I use on my resume? What have I done? What have I done as a security person to put on? What can I put on my resume as far as security is concerned? So that's what this is giving us. Another place that you can look for is the NIST family of controls. See all these controls right here? Each one of these gives you more and more information on what you have done. Like it'll identify. I guarantee you, if you've done IT for some time, you have done one or probably all of these things. Most of these things you have done before. You just don't know what you've done and you don't know how to identify it. And that's why I'm doing the course, so I can help you break it down and help you have language to put it in there, what to look for, how to find the words you want to use it. For example, Audit Logs is all in this one right here. This security control right here, this family of controls breaks everything down, every aspect that you could think of that's dealing with audit controls, audit logs, events, storage capacity, timestamps, non-repudiation, all this stuff that can be very helpful to you. If you've ever written a policy where it talks about how your organization deals with audit logs, here this is where you can break it all down. And so this is a really good one to go through. Really good one to go through to get more and more information. And so that is what I'm going to be expanding on. I'm going to be going in great detail on how you can actually do this yourself for many different aspects of your security controls. Let me see if anybody's watching me. I'm doing something different here, so I'm like having a hard time seeing what's going on. Let me see. Trying to see if there's anybody on YouTube watching. Normally I have a few people asking questions and stuff. And while I'm looking for that, let me see if I can bring up some questions that people have asked me. Let me see here. I had some pretty good questions that people have sent to me that I want to answer. If this is your first time watching this, I am in the IT space right now. I'm not just IT, but cybersecurity. I do this for a living. So what I've decided to do is help people out. Help people to navigate this field of cybersecurity. So you can feel free to ask me questions when I'm on lives. Go check out my free courses at convocourses.com, and you can get an inside look at how to get into cybersecurity. How does it work? Is it for you? Like, it might be like, it sounds interesting. It sounds like it makes good money, but is this something that you can see yourself doing? Those are the kind of people that I want to help out. So that's the whole purpose of this whole site, is to help people to navigate cybersecurity and all aspects of it. All right, I'm looking for questions right now. Looking for questions. I know I had a couple, and I think I already answered this one. Charles says, hello. I was wondering, how much knowledge of computers do you need in order to get a job in cybersecurity dealing with risk management? If you want to get a certification in CompTIA Security Plus, would I need to be knowledgeable in A+ or be able to know how to hack? I'm getting a bachelor's degree in information assurance, criminal justice, education, and interdisciplinary studies. Would that help? Okay, seems like he's got a couple questions here. And I think I actually answered this one last week about interdisciplinary studies, but let me be more specific on this one, because I think that this question There's a few questions here that I can answer a little bit better than I did last week. So he says, first question is, I was wondering how much knowledge of computers do you need in order to get a job in cybersecurity dealing with risk management? Okay, so that's a good question. Risk management, typically you need, it's like a second tier job. Because here's why I say that. Even though it doesn't have to be super technical. Here's the thing about risk management framework. It's a lot of management type stuff. It's a lot of meetings. It's a lot of documentation. It's not like a lot of hands-on configuring systems usually. But I have done both before in certain roles. But risk management itself requires you to have kind of like be a jack of all trades. And that's why it's kind of like a second tier type position, meaning you should already have some IT experience before you get in the risk management framework. Here's what I would say. There's a couple things that I always ask people whenever they ask me about risk management. Number one, are you a U.S. citizen? The reason why that's important because most risk management jobs, many risk management jobs require you to be a U.S. citizen because they require you to be eligible for some type of security clearance. Now, that being said, you do have public trust clearances and you do have jobs that don't actually require a security clearance. But I know if you can't get a clearance because you're not a citizen, it's going to be much harder to get a risk management job. Another thing for risk management is this shouldn't be your first job in IT. And the reason I say that because a risk management person needs to have a pretty solid understanding of information technology. So typically a person comes from either being in IT for some time, like a couple years in IT, like a help desk job or customer support for doing IT and stuff like that. So you have an understanding of things like you have a very solid foundation for networking, for fixing how computers work, hardware, how the software works. You have a fundamental understanding of that. Those are needed because you have to know how a person could exploit certain weaknesses, and you have to be able to identify certain weaknesses and security best practices and why you need those security best practices. That to just expand on that, why are risk management people usually not super technical, or why is there a mixture of some people who are technical and some people are not? Meaning when I say technical, I mean like hands-on. It's because it's dealing with a lot of regulations. Like it's dealing with a lot of like federal regulations or state regulations or industry standard regulations and stuff like that. And you have to really know a lot of that kind of stuff and how it applies to IT. And that's why you need kind of both of those things. And I hope that answers your question. I would say be a U.S. citizen, be eligible for a security clearance, have about 1 solid year of some sort of IT hands-on experience, so understand IT. And other things they look for is like a bachelor's degree, but I've seen people not have a bachelor's degree, so that's kind of, it depends. And then sometimes they'll look for like a certification of some type. You mentioned Security Plus. That's usually one of the ones they look for, or CAP, or CISSP, or CASP. Those are some of the top ones right there. So let me answer your next question. You said, if I want to get a certification in IT, if I want to get a certification in CompTIA Security Plus, would I need to know the A plus, or be able to hack? If we want to get, so you're asking a question about Security Plus. So Security Plus has some requirements which I can bring up right now. Let me see. Security Plus requirements. I don't think you have to have the A plus certification to get to the Security Plus. I do know that there are prerequisites, but I think it has to do with like being in the industry in IT for like 2 years. I think that's one of the requirements. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head here. Okay, here we go. Although Security Plus, let me see if you can see that. Make sure you can see that. All right. Yeah. All right. CompTIA covers network security concepts, threat, vulnerability, access control, identity management, cryptography, and more. Although CompTIA, and here it is right here, although CompTIA does not impose, I hate these damn things. Although CompTIA does not impose any prerequisites, okay, there you go, there's no prerequisites. The organization recommends the cert candidate obtain a Network Plus credential and have at least 2 years of IT administration experience with a security focus. So there you go. So to answer your question, there's no prerequisites. You don't have to have an A plus. They recommend that you have 2 years of experience. They recommend that you take the Network Plus. That said, having taken it a couple times, I took the old one and then I had to retake it to like teach the new version of the test like years ago. So having had the Security Plus for a very long time, I would say you need to go in before you take it. I would have like a year of experience in IT, any kind of IT experience. And then I would have, or 6 months, like 6, you don't even need a lot of experience for it, but it's really helpful to actually have some grasp of how IT works. And then another thing is like, and that includes network stuff. You don't have to do a Network Plus. You don't really have to, but if you need to know networking to some extent. And what else would I say for Security Plus? You could really just walk in cold and take it. It's not super hard of a test. You could just read a bunch of books, study online, watch videos, and you could probably take it. But I don't recommend that. You should really have hands-on experience to get a better grasp of what you're doing. So that would be my recommendation to you. So let me see your last question here. Your last question was, oh, and do you need to be able to hack? No, you don't. You would not need to be able to hack to take the Security Plus. That's for sure. Knowing some concepts about hacking is helpful because they will go into that. They'll go into like different cybersecurity threats, different cybersecurity vulnerabilities, different kind of malware. They will go into those things, but you don't have to actually have a hands-on knowledge of hacking. Okay, so next question you said was, I am also getting a bachelor's in information assurance, criminal justice, and education with interdisciplinary studies. Would that help? Yeah, any kind of education you get helps. Any kind of degrees you get definitely helps. There's no replacement for, as I say all the time on the channel, there's no replacement for experience. That's the very, very best thing you can get. But the bachelor's degree is definitely helpful. And information assurance is a very good one to get. Criminal justice, so I have a criminal justice degree. Probably the only thing that I would say has helped me on is my experience as doing physical security has helped me, but criminal justice itself hasn't really helped a lot. Not really. There's a little bit of crossing over between cybersecurity policy and compliance and criminal justice, in that some of the laws, there's some laws that you would know on one or the other, like I can't remember off the top of my head, not FISMA, but there's a couple of there's a couple of laws that talk about if you were to hack into this system, how many years you'd get in prison. So there's a couple of laws that kind of cross over from one to the other, but overall you don't need a criminal justice degree. It's just really not going to help that much. Education would help you to be a teacher if you happen to want to teach information assurance or computer science or something like that. That would help. But hope that answers your questions, Charles. And let me see if there's any other questions. I know that sometimes I'll get questions in my chat, so let me just bear with me, guys. I need to bring up the chat for a second. Just gonna do that real quick. Bringing up the chat. Where is it? I'm actually not seeing it. If you guys have any questions before I let you go, just feel free to ask. I am right now looking for the chat box that's on OBS and I'm not seeing it, so don't know what happened with that, but I know another way to get it. Let me see here. Everybody having a good what are you guys doing for 4th of July? Happy 4th of July, by the way. I'm just gonna be sticking around with the family. I might go protest the 4th of July. Let me see here. I'm looking for comments, and no people are chatting to me right now, but I'm having trouble looking for getting my chat. Bear with me. Get your questions ready. I'm actually have to go to my own personal live that I'm on right now to make sure that I can see your chat. There we go. Holy crap, I got a lot of people asking me questions here. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wow. Dang. All right, so I got some questions. JJ, what's going on? Least privileged reports. Is this from last time we talked? Holy crap. All right, I'll start from the bottom. SS, how you doing? Says, getting into ISO knowledge for the 4th. That's good. Let me see. The Real Blackula. I like that name. Says, what's good, Convocourses? I'm studying for AWS Solutions Architecture Associate. Then the AWS Solutions Architect Professional. Are there a lot of jobs in this field? Yeah, there's a lot of jobs in this field. Cloud computing is super hot right now, and it pays really well. And there's not enough of us to do the job, to do the work. It's just like this technology is exploding, and everyone's using it, and it's in high demand. And there's just not enough of us to do it. And then a lot of Americans, you know, they're always saying like, well, there's no jobs, and now they're canceling the H-1B to cancel people from coming to the country so that they can't take American jobs or whatever. But to be honest with you, in my experience, having done this over 20 years, there's not enough of us to do it, and there's not enough Americans who want to do IT work. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. I guess it's just not cool. It doesn't make enough money. I don't know, but we just don't have enough people to do the work. So it's, to answer your question, yes, it's super hot right now. And I can actually show you some stuff that's going to blow your mind. If you go to, check this out. If you want to know if it's hot or not, if you just go cloud computing jobs. So right here, Google has this new feature where it'll actually search. If you say jobs anything, it comes up with this little app right here. Look at this. I did not type in AWS. All I typed in was cloud computing, and AWS came up. One of the jobs. Look at all these AWS jobs. See that? All those Amazon ones you see are all AWS. It's super competitive, and it's all over the place. I mean, it's just hot. I don't know what to say. It's just super hot. And then if you say, check this, here's another one. I'll show you. I showed this on a previous video. It said top IT paying jobs. What I want to say is top paying jobs in IT. Now watch this. So here's one article that talks about it. Now, last time I looked at this, it had cloud compute. There it is right there. Cloud engineer, there's one of them. This might be old, actually. I wonder if this is old. Yeah, this is from last year. It's not that old, but the last one I got had just back-to-back cloud computing on it. Product manager, artificial intelligence, full stack developer, cloud architect. So on almost every list you can think of, we're talking about hot jobs, cloud computing comes up. It's just on the rise. It's hot. It's everywhere, and it's there's a huge need for it. Here's another one. Watch this. Top IT certifications 2020. Now watch this one. Check this out. Virtualization, cloud computing, cloud architect, AWS certified. This is security stuff. Security stuff. Project management, security stuff. Security. Cloud. ITIL, that's bullshit, but whatever. Cloud computing. Centrix. Routing, switching, and more virtualization, which is cloud stuff. So yeah, cloud is super hot. So that's a good one to get into, Blackula. Very smart move. Okay, Kiko says not the exam, but having the certification. Okay, I'm catching the last part of your question. So I'm just going to start from the top and work my way down. JJ says, what's up, Bruce? Least privilege. Let me see. Somebody said, appreciate it. Question about what cloud-based security certifications would you recommend for an engineer who's delving a great deal into cloud solutions? I would say, like, if we're looking at cloud stuff, here's a lot of what people are looking for. Cloud certification. There's 3 that I would recommend. One of these 3. AWS, Google's Cloud Profession. This one right here. And then the other one is one by ISC Squared that does cloud computing. But I think it's vendor neutral. Like, in other words, it doesn't go in specifically into this or that. It doesn't go into this or that vendor. It's just, it tells you like the common knowledge of cloud computing. Let me see if I can find what it is I'm talking about. It's called ISC2 Squared to Cloud Computing. And I don't think that this is the top certification, to be honest with you. I think it's probably AWS or Google. But this one I think should do pretty good because it's vendor neutral. So you could use either Google or you could use AWS. So let me see here. Any other questions? Okay, SS says, hey Bruce, just want to let you know I'm starting my next job in 2 weeks. Your ISO and security control program really helped me out. Well, that's great, man. Appreciate that. I need to put your endorsement on my site. Give me more people to get into it. It says even your free videos are great. Highly recommended. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. If you have any questions on your way up, let me know. What's the difference between an ISO and an ISSM? Okay, this is an easy one. But the heck is going on? I think my wind is just like picked up upstairs. It's weird. Hear some like crazy noises upstairs. I have to go up and shut this thing off in a second. Okay. Anyway, what is the main difference between an ISO and an ISSM? Okay. So an ISO is Information System Security Officer. And an ISSM is an Information System Security Manager. The difference is normally the ISSO is a subordinate to the ISSM. The ISSM is usually somebody who is appointed by C-level execs. They're appointed by the CIO or the office of the CIO or somebody high up, and they are given their appointment and their responsibilities by written, like a written letter saying that this person is the ISSM, and they're doing things like they're going to meetings determining if the security controls that you're putting on the system meet the business requirements. They're looking at things like, what's our budget for this quarter? Did we? They're looking at things like, did we complete everything we're supposed to do in our organization or for our company? They're looking out for the interest of the company who's doing the controls, the organization who's doing the requirements. They're doing all management type stuff, dealing with procurement, money, making sure that everybody has what they need to do their job. And they are the boss or the supervisor of the information system security officer. And they, the information system security manager, usually appoints the information system security officer. They're the person who hires them, supervises, and or manages the information system security officer. The information system security officer, as you probably already know, is the person who is interpreting the controls to make sure that the organization is meeting the standards or the federal guidelines that they're supposed to do. Like if they're doing it for the Department of Defense, there's certain rules that they have to abide by, and the ISO is responsible for that. And then their main job is to help with minimizing the risk to the organization. So I hope that answers your question. That's the difference between those two things. And I've actually had a taste of both of those. Mostly ISO work. The ISSM is when they have people underneath them. So, and okay, he says, I have one last question. I always look to progress in my career. And what would be the next step you would recommend after being an ISO? So it really depends. From the ISO, you can do a couple different things. It really depends on what you want to do. You can go into management. You can go from an ISO to an information system security manager, and then have people underneath you. You could, from ISO work, you can even, if you want to be more technical, go into system security engineering, where you're actually helping the organization to put the network together. Where you can go into information system security architecture, and that's on a grander scale of helping the whole organization build an enterprise. And how much does it cost, and do we have the funding for it, and does it meet our requirements, and do we have the proper level of encryption? What actual vendors are we going to go through? You can also do ethical hacking. There's many different branches, because you, as an ISO, the beautiful thing about it is that you're touching so many different things that you can go super technical if you want, or you can go into the management space, or you can even go into program management, where you're not really doing IT stuff, more like you're managing the projects of IT. So what I would do is, once you get your job, once you start your work, you'll see avenues open up and doors open up. That's what will happen when you get to your organization. You'll see these different paths open up. And I would suggest learn as much as you can. If they offer you're an ISO, and they say, hey S, would you like to help us out with doing data monitoring, or would you like to help us do with this scene, with the security information event manager? We need somebody to help us out with that. Or, hey S, we want you to help us build this firewall. Or could you look at these firewall logs? Sit down with us and help us. Anything that they do to add to your resume, anything they do to add to your skill set, do it. Because everything you learn is money. That's how I think about it. And that's why I never turned any of these things down. And that's why I'm I have so many things that I've done, because I don't turn the stuff down. If they say, hey Bruce, we want you to do ArcSight. Are you up for that? I'm like, yes. And then they'll teach you, that's free courses, free classes, free, hands-on mentorship, everything. And so I would have 2-3 years of experience just doing ArcSight. I built ArcSight from scratch because I didn't turn down the experience of doing it. Let me see. Let me see. Got another question from Yannick. First says, can you help a little about how to conduct a proper assessment as a CSA? I've been thinking about this. I've been getting a few questions about doing this. And I actually do these assessments. This is actually part of my job. And I've done them in the past. I've done self-assessments. I've done external assessments, internal assessments, interviews. I've done scanning. I've done all that, everything, all that stuff. So I'm thinking about doing a course on CSA. But can I tell you a little bit about how to do a proper assessment? Yes. I totally can talk about this. All right, so it depends on the type of assessment, first of all. There's different kinds of assessments. And I break it up into like two main kinds. Really three. There's three main kinds. The first one is like a self-assessment. That's like you are an ISO, or you are a system security analyst, or a system security, cybersecurity person in your organization, and you are overseeing 20 different systems, right? Like or a floor of systems, and you are the security guy for those systems, and you know you're having an inspection soon, and you want to make sure that you don't have any crazy vulnerabilities out there. So you would conduct a self-assessment, meaning you would run your own scan and look at your own data. You would interview people who are sitting on the laptops and desktops and ask them if they know the security policies. You would ask them to sit down and let you know, like you would sit down with the security administrators or system administrator and say, hey, let's make sure the audit logs are on. So there's a self-assessment. There's an internal organizational assessment. That's where somebody from your organization comes from another unit, comes over, and they scan your network. They do interviews. They conduct all that stuff. Then the last one is like a third party, where another outside organization, let's say you work at Oracle, and Oracle has a huge contract with the federal government, and you have an outside organization from the Department of Homeland Security come in and do a quick audit of your network, an IG inspection. And they're doing outside networks. They're doing the inside scans of your network, and then they're looking at your policies, your GPOs. They're doing interviews and stuff like that. So those are the three kinds of assessments that you can do, right? There's many other kinds that are not even technical, or there's management ones or whatever, right? But we're not talking about those. We're talking about these three. How do you do it? I'll explain it as simple as possible. Number one, you do what's called a plan, a security assessment plan. The security assessment plan breaks down the who, what, when, where, and why of the actual assessment you're going to do. Now, obviously, if you have a self-assessment and you're just doing it for your own purposes to prepare your network for a ongoing IG inspection or something, you probably don't need to do a security assessment plan. But if you're doing an annual security assessment plan, yeah, you need to do some documentation for you talking about who is going to conduct it, when is it going to be conducted, what's the scope of the assessment, meaning are you just doing scanning systems, or are you looking at documentation, policies and procedures? Are you going to do a physical walkthrough? Are you doing wireless? What are you doing? That's the scope. And then when are you doing it, and who does this go to? Once you're done with it, who does it? Where does it? You're going to save it, right? And in all three of the types of assessment, that's what you're going to do. You're going to do a security assessment plan. Once you have the security assessment plan and it's all documented, the next step is to actually implement the security assessment plan. When you implement it, if you have to meet with anybody, you're going to schedule when you're going to actually conduct the actual assessment. And that means you need to send them the actual plan and say, here's the plan. And usually when you give them the plan, they can send you any information that you need to do the assessment. Or that includes approvals, that includes guest lists, like if you need to get them on a guest list, or you need to go to their facility and do a guest list there, then you need to set all that stuff up. And then finally, you implement all that stuff. You do the scan, you do the interviews, and then all of those reports go up to whoever's going to have the final say so on whoever accepts the risk, that which would be your head of agency or the CIO or information system security manager. So I hope that answers your questions. It's just security assessment plan, coordinating with the people you're scanning with, documenting, and then when you document, it's going to go on what's called a report assessment, risk assessment report, or an RAR. Then there's many different names for it. And then that document, that risk assessment report, will go up to whoever holds the risk for the organization. So that's in a nutshell, that's how you do it. And there's lots of other details, but that will have to be fleshed out in a complete course, which I don't know when I'm gonna be able to work on that. All right, so SS says, thanks, Bruce, and thanks to your family for allowing you to spend time with us on a regular basis. Your knowledge and skills are greatly appreciated. Thanks, S. Appreciate that, man. Real Blackula says, Convocourses, is the AWS contracted with the U.S. government? I believe they do. They did win some kind of giant U.S. government contract with Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. We can look it up real quick. It's publicly available information, by the way. So I'm not going to get in trouble by revealing anything, I don't think. AWS Government Cloud. Yeah. So I believe the government has a contract with Amazon. They have one with Google. I'm trying to think of any other organizations they have them with. But yeah, here you go right here. Check it out. You got FedRAMP. Let me just move my face here real quick. You got FedRAMP, FISMA, Department of Defense. All these guys use AWS. So AWS is hot, man. AWS is hot. Now we know why. Look at that. Look at that. DOD is huge, man. That's like Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, you know. And then you got Department of Commerce. They have Department of Homeland Security. I'm sure they do. I'm sure. Because Department of Homeland Security is a big one. There's the NIST right there. These are large organizations. There's the IRS. Yeah, look at that. Criminal justice. So yeah. There you go. There's your answer. All right, let me see. I think there was another question. Somebody also said, AWS has multiple cloud regions for the federal government. US Gov West, US Gov East, for example. Yep, JJ's on top of it. JJ, do you have AWS? I think you said at some point that you either had it or you were going for it. Yeah, AWS is hot. Like, I think it's a really good one. I know for sure Google has something with the government too, but I don't know a lot about it. AWS CCP, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Actually, the organization I work for is going to require me to get deeper into cloud stuff. I think I'm going to need to do the ISE2 cloud stuff. I think that's the one I'm going to do. Unless they give me a choice, but it's very soon. I'm going to have to do it. I'm planning on getting into compliance with cloud. So I plan on taking your ISO course. Yeah. Yep. So that's the thing. Like, I don't imagine the cloud stuff's gonna be that much different from everything I've learned. I mean, the principles of security pretty much stay the same. So I imagine it's gonna be the same best practice type stuff that I've gone through. So yeah. I'm interested in getting into the cloud stuff. I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, it's a huge career move. So the organization's really pushing us to do cloud stuff. So we actually do assessments for different organizations, including cloud stuff. SS says, JJ, I've finished it last week. I highly recommend it. That's you guys are talking about the AWS CCP. Yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. That's for sure. Whoa, I got 20 people watching me. Why? that's, that's crazy. How do I have 20 people watching this stuff? That is insane. Oh, you guys are talking about that course. Highly recommended. Oh, great. And thanks for that endorsement there, S. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. I got more stuff to come, by the way. More stuff on the way. It's just all that stuff takes time to do, you know. So, and I'm not trying to go halfway with it. So, just to give you an idea of some of the stuff I have planned, the CAP course, people have been asking me about that, but it's so detailed and there's so much going on with it. And I've been knocking out other stuff on the way to the CAP course. I would like to do an assessment one, how to do security control assessments, because I can do that one. I would like to do control implementation. That's something that I know a lot about. I would like to do oh man, PCI, because I have a friend who knows that one. I want to coordinate with him to do that. What other things? I want to do some stuff on cybersecurity threat analysis, vulnerability analysis. There's so many different things that are really fun, that are really great for your career, are really good moves, and maybe even one day the cloud stuff. But I would want to get the certification and go through that first before I actually did the cloud one. Just be honest, Bruce. It helps me better understand the risk management framework way better than the training PowerPoints that was given to me. Yeah, that's the reason why I wanted to do this whole course, is because it's better to talk to somebody who's done it before, and for them to give you a sample and say, here's what I did, here's how it works in the real world. Because a book by itself, in my opinion, is kind of a one-dimensional way. I mean, don't get me wrong, you need books and stuff, but it's like a one-dimensional. It's just one aspect of security, of information security officer work. But to have somebody there to tell you, here's what I've done in several different organizations. I worked at DoD. I worked at NASA. I worked at aerospace technology companies. I worked over in wherever, and then to give you a contrast of what you do in those scenarios and stuff, I think in my personal opinion, is better. I think I'm going to AWS Solution Architecture, CAP, and then CISSP. Start applying for the ISO roles next year before I transition out of the military. Oh man, that's a great move, man. That's a genius move right there. That's how you do it. Start working right now. That's what I did. And let me tell you something, man. That was one of the smartest things I ever did. Was I started getting ready before I got out. Before I got out of the military, I had like 5 different certifications. I had a degree. I had 2 degrees. I have 5 certifications. I went super hard on my way out. Super hard, and it really paid off. I had a Network Plus, I had a Security Plus, I had a low-level Microsoft certification, I had a Linux. I think I got the Linux one later. I can't remember. I had a CCNA, Cisco certification. I went whenever they would offer something, it's because I just didn't say no. They'd be like, "Hey, do you want to take this CCNA certification?" I'm like, "What is that?" Yes, I want it. So then they would send us to the boot camp and everything, because we had this huge demand for us for airmen to like learn all this stuff. So when I got out, man, I was ready. I was ready, man. I wasn't trying to do security. I was trying to do like Linux and Unix and stuff. But turned out there was way more money in cybersecurity. So I ended up getting back into it. So Let me see. The Real Blackula says, Convocourses, what do you think about CompTIA Project Plus for an intro to mid-level management? First off, I've never taken Project Plus, the Real Blackula. I've never taken it, but I stand by CompTIA. Like, CompTIA is very good at breaking down common body of knowledge for security, for Linux. I've taken like 3 or 4 of their certifications, and I can tell you, like, even the weakest one I took was Network Plus. But that one right there broke down I ISing scheme and grasp of what to do. I was by no means an expert, but it allowed me to go to the next level, which was to go to from Network Plus to CCNA. The CCNA at the time was pretty damn. It was the hardest certification at the time I had taken. This is before I took the CISSP. So that certification was difficult for me. It was difficult anyway. So I would say, I would say go ahead and do it. Like, if it's entry level and you plan on going Project Plus and then taking your PMP, I think that's a pretty good plan. I mean, I did it for Network Plus to CCNA, and it just to have that foundation, that solid foundation, was super helpful. So yeah, I think that's a great plan. SS says, I currently work for the DoD, but I'm thinking that the private sector is where the money is at. Am I correct, or does it balance out with the benefits? It depends on what you want, SS. Having worked at the private and public sector, it's actually a good question. This is something I should probably do videos on. But off the top of my head, I guess tell you what I've been through and what I've done, and what in the comparison of private sector and the department and the public sector. Public sector, if you guys don't, if for those who don't know, is the federal government, state government, basically where taxpayers' money is paying for services that benefits everyone. It's things like Department of Homeland Security, FBI, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, state government, California state government, stuff like that. Like where the taxpayers' money pays it. It's public sector because you're serving the public. Private sector is Google, Microsoft, Airbnb, stuff like that. Uber, that's private. It's privately owned companies. That's the difference between the two. I would say, having worked in both, and right now I'm in the private sector, I would say it depends on the organization. Because I've worked for some really good public sector organizations. I've worked for the Air Force, the Army, the Department of Defense, DISA. I've worked with DHS, the Navy. I've worked with the Marines. I worked with NASA. And it really depends on the internal organization that makes it or breaks it for me. And me as a contractor, though. So I was a contractor in most of those, except when I was in the military. And I would say being out of the military is 1,000 million % better. So JJ, just so you know, man, it's gonna get a lot better. The pay is gonna get better. I would say I did no longer miss it, but when I first got out, I really missed the camaraderie. I really missed that, the brotherhood. I missed that's something you don't get in the private sector. People, it's dog eat dog. It's pretty much, it's people just, it's crazy. There's no loyalty at all. Like, get that out of your mind. In the military, like, there's a camaraderie, there's a brotherhood, there's a fabric that connects all of you, no matter where you came from, no matter what race. All of us have a mission, and so that binds us together. And you don't have time to worry about BS. Like all this BS happening. Like it's just BS, man. Like you have a mission to do, and that is it. That's it. And that common purpose forces you all to work with one another and protect each other, especially in war zones. So that right there is something I kind of miss. But in the private sector, is none of that. None of that. It's companies don't really care about employees. Most. I mean, okay. Let me walk that back a bit and say that some companies are really incredible. I work for a couple. I work for some really, really incredible companies. Really, really incredible companies. That their culture is awesome. They do take care of their people. They have all these incentives for you to stay. They want to groom you and make you better because they see you as really, truly part of the team. But to answer the question, currently working in DoD, but I'm thinking of the private sector. Is there is where the money at? That's true. You will make more. There's more money there, I would say. But is it better? Depends on what you like. Depends on what you like. If you like the camaraderie, if you like the brotherhood, then no, you're not gonna find it in the private sector. I mean, I have personally haven't found it. Maybe it exists somewhere, but it's very rare. And the current job I'm at is actually feeling like that in the private sector. But I haven't been to 10 different jobs. I'd say it's very, 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 very rare. Um, is it worth it? Depends on what you like. It really depends. For me, I prefer the private sector overall. I gotta say. I prefer the private sector at a good company. Because the thing about the public sector is that I would get a contract job with, say, the Army, right? Just for an example. And this is just an example. This is not, the names have been changed to protect the innocent. But I get a job with, say, the Army, right? Some organization in the Army. And you're a contractor. So basically what they say goes. And that's all there is to it. There's no negotiation. There's no here's how it is. Here's what you'll do, period. And there's some good and bad to that. The good is you know exactly what you're supposed to do, period. And here's the box, and then you stay in it. But the bad news is that there's fewer times that you can innovate. There's not as much flexibility to do things a little bit different or change the culture or evolve with the culture. There's just fewer things that you can do with that. So depends on what you like. Me, I personally prefer the private sector, but it was a hard road with the private sector because there's no loyalty, especially if you're a contractor. Cutthroat, man, cutthroat. Sorry, but I'm talking about civil service versus contractor. Yeah, my statement stands. Like civil service, closest I got to that, I was never a civil servant. I was military. But yeah, the brotherhood is there. It's more solid. It's more stable in civil servant. Being a civil servant, I would say, you're not gonna. They don't just fire you out of nowhere. With contract work, which I did for many years, man, it's brutal. It's brutal, man. It's organization can let you go whenever they want for whatever reason. They can lower your pay for any reason. They can increase how much time you work for any reason. There's really unfortunately, there's not a lot of protections for contractors. See you later, JJ. Have a good one. There's not a lot of protection for contractors. So contract work sucks. I don't want to do it again. But if I have to, I will. I mean, maybe if I do it for myself, for my own organization, if I have one, then yeah. But for another organization, I'd rather not do it. It was just too volatile. Really hard to do, especially if you have a family. If you're single, then it's fine. But if you can be an employee, that's just my 2 cents. All right. I'm about to let this thing go. I got how many people? 11 people watching. And I appreciate everybody. Thank you guys for your questions. Thank you guys for sticking around. Once again, if you are interested in knowing more about cybersecurity, knowing more about stuff I'm talking about, information system security officer work, risk management framework, if you're interested in it, go check out Convocourses.com. And I've got tons of free stuff out there that you can check out. I got how to get into, let me just show you what I'm talking about. I've got Convocourses.com, how to get into cybersecurity, how to get in and get up to six figures, how to work remotely. I've got how to do documentation on system security controls. There's a lot of stuff, and I'm constantly upgrading and constantly adding more things, and every now and then I give crazy discounts. So just go ahead and sign up for free and check out the free stuff. If you're interested, check it out. And I think I got one last question I think I can do. You ever thought of starting your own ISO.org organization? I have thought about it. I think I'm more of a teacher. To be honest with you, I'm more of I like teaching better. It's just easier for me. It's more comfortable. It just seems natural. To have my own organization, I would probably, if I did consulting work, I could probably do that. Consulting work, I would do the stuff I'm doing now, but just for companies. I've done it before. I've done that before, actually. Yeah, I've done that before a couple times. That's fun. I would do one-offs. I don't know that I would want employees. I don't know that I would want to go that far. Haven't had employees before. I didn't like it. Navi 2000 said, thanks, Bruce. Happy 4th of July. I'm sending you links to some friends that want to get started in cybersecurity. Okay, great, man. If you, let me see if I can put do you have my email address? If you don't, then I'm going to just put it on the screen real quick if I can find it. Contact information right there. There it is. See if I can move it right there. That's my contact information. If you want to email me those contacts or send them the contacts. Oh, so you're sending my links to your friends. Okay, thanks, man. Appreciate that. All right, guys. I'm out of here. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Take coronavirus serious. And take care of yourselves.